Welcome to our kitchen. Today we prepare a flavorful medieval beef stew. Simple but really interesting for its cultural and historical background. Cooked with our homegrown saffron. We start with the ingredients. We need a cut of beef with a good amount of fat, onions, white wine vinegar, and saffron. We planted the saffron corms in September. We harvested the first flowers in the middle of October and let the stigmas dry for about 1 month to allow them to develop their full aroma. Saffron was widely cultivated during the Middle Ages in the Italic Peninsula and Sicily, although the production was insufficient to meet the demand, being saffron one of the most used spices. As a consequence, a large amount of saffron was imported. Indeed, in the late Middle Ages, the name zafferanum, of Arabic origin, starts to substitute the Latin name crocus. In several medieval cookbooks, we find both names in different recipes, likely to mark from time to time the local or the imported spice. Though the author suggests this recipe for rustics and peasants, saffrons seems to be quite expensive in the Middle Ages and Renaissance, as reported in the 15th century by Michele Savonarola and 1 century later by the physician Mattioli. Indeed, the author of this cookbook often uses saffron in the recipes he considers suitable for peasants. First, we boil the meat halfway through. The cooking time changes depending on the cut you choose and the size. This recipe is part of a 15th century Latin manuscript titled Registrum Coquine, written by the German cook Johannes von Bockenheim, who worked in Rome for Pope Martin V. The author titled this recipe Procivibus rusticis et villanis, that can be translated as for citizens, rustics and peasants. We rarely find beef recipes in the medieval cookbooks. The main reason is that beef was not considered suitable for nobles, and it was intended for manual workers, as reported by several medical and culinary sources, as the 15th century physician Michele Savonarola or the late 13th century cookbook Libro de Coquina. While the meat simmers, we skim the broth, as many medieval cookbooks suggest. Meanwhile, we soak a few saffron threads in hot water for a few minutes. Saffron is considered by the medieval medical handbooks suited for winter and northern regions of the world. Aldobrandino of Siena suggests its use to comfort the heart and stomach, in particular taken with a meat broth. Then we cut the onions. According to De Flore Dietarum, an 11th century medical book, to remove the harm from onions, it is necessary add vinegar, which is another ingredient of this recipe. It is important here using white wine vinegar, because we have to obtain a yellow dish. Saffron was appreciated during the Middle Ages not only as a spice but also as a pigment for food, being the yellow considered particularly pleasant. It is present in a great number of medieval dishes. We continue cooking the stew for 1 hour, adding the onions, 2 good pinches of salt, the vinegar and the saffron. A few weeks ago we prepared a leek soup for the lean days, intended for peasants and rustics, as well as this one. The difference is that this is a stew for the fat days. In the medieval culture, the days in which people were allowed to eat meat, milk, and eggs. This simple yet flavorful stew is a delicious example of a medieval meat dish at a peasant's table that enhances the flavor of one of the most common medieval spices. If you're interested in ancient foods and flavors, or you're just looking for unusual and delicious recipes, please subscribe our channel.